Morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today we've got another detailed forecast update coming your way. We're going to start off by taking a look at the low pressure system moving offshore from New South Wales, which is providing some severe weather to areas across the coastline there. We're going to be talking about a major cold front that's expected to impact Western Australia, before talking about other more general weather forecasts for the Australian nation. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather update. If you are brand new to the channel, please consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. Your support is greatly appreciated. So like I said, we're going to start things off here, taking a look at the satellite imagery of this low pressure system that's swirling offshore from New South Wales at this time. This system is no longer a major threat in terms of its cold snap that it's brought to New South Wales and Victoria. The snowfall accumulations have certainly eased off. There will still be a couple of snow showers, especially this morning and throughout the rest of today in the extreme highlands of New South Wales and Victoria, but nothing like what we have been seeing. There's also been some very heavy rainfall as well from this weather system, up to 50 millimetres, like I said, in the Gippsland region of Victoria in the forecast yesterday, and also a couple of millimetres spreading up the New South Wales coastline, but the majority of it should be clearing out throughout the course of today. And you can see it now on the rainfall forecast here. As this low pressure system moves deeper into the Tasman Sea, the rainfall will ease off for Victoria, just a couple of showers expected here and there. Drizzly conditions through parts of New South Wales as well. There will be some showers through the majority of the state throughout the course of today, and then along the New South Wales coastline, there will be some showers as well. Possibly a couple of storms as well, extending up towards Newcastle or Taree on the points outside of Newcastle. On those exposed coastal areas, they could be receiving a couple of thunder showers, especially towards this evening, but they shouldn't be anything too crazy, and the rainfall should be easing off by early tomorrow morning there and clearing out of New South Wales completely throughout the course of Thursday. In fact, that should happen sometime Thursday afternoon or evening. Still, a couple of spots of snow are expected across Thredbo, Perisher Valley, that sort of area on Thursday, but certainly not in the areas that have been receiving snow. They've had some very good snowfall accumulations across a lot of the mountainous areas in New South Wales, which is fantastic to see because it is the first snow that some of these places have picked up in a couple of years now, so it's a very refreshing sight to see. Another thing I'd like to talk about with this low pressure system moving into the Tasman Sea is it does have some strong winds. You can see winds here averaging about 50-60 kilometres an hour, gusting up towards 70 to 80 kilometres an hour, in one or two spots a little bit stronger than that as well. The strongest of wind gusts aren't on the New South Wales coastline. They are a little bit offshore, but exposed coastal locations, especially around Sydney and down towards Wollongong and Narooma, could be receiving some fairly strong wind gusts throughout the course of today, and they won't properly ease off until probably about early Thursday morning, maybe even a little later into Thursday as well. A couple of strong winds still expected along the Gippsland coastline, but again, nothing crazy there. Winds right now aren't too crazy. You can see here at Gabbo Island Lighthouse outside of Malakuta, winds 45 kilometres an hour out of the south, and up here around Newcastle Airport, they're also 40 kilometres an hour out of the west. They've been pretty fresh throughout the entire New South Wales coastline until you get up towards about Coffs Harbour and anywhere further north. They've kind of missed out on all of this strong severe weather type stuff, which is a little bit of a disappointment. It was in the forecast for them, and they have missed out on the worst of the weather there, so that was a little bit of a forecasting error. But those strong winds still continuing throughout the course of today, and they will continue until this low pressure system gets itself across to New Zealand. So you've got another 24, maybe 36 hours of these fresh, cool winds that are going to be blowing through, and they'll be keeping those wind chills very much there, so make sure you continue to rug up if you do live in New South Wales. Temperatures was what we're going to be touching on later. There is another cold snap coming through, so stick around to the end of the video and we'll be talking about the temperatures across Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. It's about time now that we head over west and talk about the strong cold front that's going to be impacting the West Australian coastline. So you can see it here streaming in on the last 2 hours of satellite imagery. It's looking pretty gnarly, that's for sure, and it's a big change from the fine sunny conditions that Perth was receiving yesterday. Absolutely beautiful yesterday was, that's for sure, and it's a big change that's going to be coming through today. This cold front here is actually quite strong. It's a lot stronger than it looks, and I've been saying that this is going to be dumping quite a lot of rainfall, and that certainly is going to be the case. Taking a look at the rainfall forecast here, it doesn't look too meaty just offshore initially right now, but as it gets towards the coastline, it's going to be bringing a big band, a very thick band of light to moderate rainfall in its front, which will start around the Perth metro area from around 7 or 8 p.m. tonight. It should really pick up around midnight or so. The southwest capes will be getting the worst, the rainfall, from about 8 p.m. tonight, extending into about 10 or 11 p.m. before starting to ease off early tomorrow morning. But as this cold front gets itself over the very warm waters of the Lewin Current, it's going to be firing up a nice band of what could be some strong thunderstorms. Now, I'm not expecting all-out severe thunderstorms or crazy weather to be occurring from this cold front. That's very unlikely to happen. But I do think when it gets itself close to the shore, coastal suburbs, especially in the metro areas south, between sort of Fremantle and Mandurah, will be experiencing a very thick band of moderate to heavy rainfall for a couple of hours, and that's what's going to be equating to those very high rainfall accumulations that the Bureau of Meteorology has forecast. In fact, yesterday they've put out a warning for possible heavy falls in the morning, especially between around midnight and about 4 a.m. is when the heavy falls are most likely to occur. The rainfall should be easing out of the Perth metro area by around 6 or 7 a.m, but there still will be a couple of showers lingering for the remainder of the day before another cold front sweeps up from the south and brings some light showers and thunderstorms to the southwest capes from tomorrow evening, and they'll extend into the Perth metro area later tomorrow night and continuing through Friday, providing some rainfall until about lunchtime on Friday, when the rainfall should ease out of the Perth area for good, and it's replaced with the cold, calm, fine conditions that Perth has known so far this winter. And we'll also talk about the rainfall that's going to be happening for inland and further up the coastal locations, especially into the northern parts of the Wheatbelt, the Murchison and the Gascoyne. They're expecting some pretty good rainfall from this weather event as well. The rainfall starting for locations up the coast between Perth and Geraldton from around 9 or 10 p.m. tonight. It'll really start to pick up later tonight and into very early tomorrow morning around 2 or 3 a.m. once it gets itself through the Perth area, and heavy falls being reported as far north as Geraldton is very likely at this time. In fact, even Geraldton and Kalbarri receiving a taste of heavy rainfall early tomorrow morning around 6, 7 or 8 a.m. before this moves into the Murchison and provides moderate to heavy rainfall for locations such as Murchison Station, even as far north as Gascoyne Junction, and even Mount Augustus and East Lions River, expecting a couple of drops of rainfall from this weather event sometime on Thursday. It'll most likely be late afternoon, but for grey nomads through this part of Western Australia, enjoying the time after school holidays up here, just be warned there is a couple of showers moving through, and if you want my advice of the best camping conditions, head inland, get yourself out towards Carangini or up towards Tom Price, that sort of area. You'll be much more better off in terms of weather. It's very unpleasant to be camping in rainy conditions, but yeah, anywhere further north of Meekatharra and sort of anywhere towards the east of Great Northern Highway, expecting some much more calmer conditions weather-wise and dry conditions as well. But north of Meekatharra and Wiluna, and you should be good weather-wise, rainfall-wise at least. Might get a little bit cool out there tonight in the head of this cold front. But yeah, the rainfall making it as far north as Exmouth. This is a strong cold front that's coming through, and certainly one not to be taken lightly. Spent plenty of time rambling about how much rainfall is going to be coming through and when, so let's talk about solid accumulations here. The Bureau of Meteorology for the Perth area expecting between 15 and 40 millimetres. That's a rather large scope of uncertainty for rainfall. I reckon, based off all the forecast model guidance, especially for the northern suburbs, it's going to be closer towards that 40 millimetres. The hills also, I'm expecting some locations to pick up, especially Bickley or Gidgagana, between 50 or 60 millimetres from this weather event. I do think there'll be some dry spots here and there as well. Maybe Rottnest Island will struggle to get past the 15 mil mark, but for the majority of the Perth metro area, between 25 and 40 millimetres is expected. Up towards the northern suburbs, I reckon it'll be a bit closer to the 40 millimetre mark, but some very good rainfall nonetheless heading for the Perth metro area, and a lot of it will be falling before sunrise tomorrow morning, and you bet there'll be a big recap on that weather front, and hopefully the radar will be working on windy so we can really break down what actually happened. Southwest Cape's expecting a good 35, maybe 40 millimetres. Margaret River a healthy 35 millimetres. The south coastal region between Walpole and Albany expecting at least 25 millimetres. However, unfortunately, the rainfall, at least in its heavy nature, doesn't make itself inland. Katanning expecting about 10 to 15 millimetres. Narrogin about 10 millimetres. Areas around Wandering, kind of the only wheatbelt exception, maybe up towards 20 millimetres there. Same story for Boddington. But yeah, once you get yourself past Beverley, Brookton, Narrogin, sort of the line on Southwestern Highway, then don't expect too much in the way of rainfall, because it'll be few and far between. However, anywhere north of Great Eastern Highway in the Wheatbelt region, at least up towards Dalwallinu or Kalani, expecting some good rainfall up there. In fact, 35, maybe even 40 millimetres for some locations, 50 outside of Jurien Bay by the looks of things, or close to 50. Geraldton expecting 30 millimetres, Kalbarri expecting about 25 millimetres, and the rainfall kind of stops and becomes quite uncertain there. Still though, into the Gascoyne up towards Murchison, and even as far inland as Kew and Mount Magnet expecting up towards 15 millimetres. So it does look like some good rainfall is certainly on the cards at this time. And the Goldfields not missing out either. Kalgoorlie expecting about 10 millimetres to be coming through on Thursday, and other locations of the Goldfields could be picking up a good drop here and there. Unfortunately, it's going to be the locations that are currently stuck in drought conditions outside of Lake Grace, Ravensthorpe, Salmon Gums and Norseman that pick up very hit and miss rainfall and only a couple of millimetres when it does hit. So that is unfortunate. Out there, they are in some desperate need of some rainfall. And the southwest as well, around the Stirling Ranges and Katanning, desperately in need of some rainfall too. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like too much is going to be coming through there, which is kind of going to be a hard pill to swallow, especially for farmers who are, like I said, in desperate need for rainfall out there. Thankfully, though, this isn't the only cold front that's going to be coming through. Another one comes through Thursday afternoon. This one looks like it's going to be having some damaging wind gusts as well, especially for the southwest Capes and maybe the Perth metro area as well. So wave heights are going to be huge on Thursday onwards. We've also got the potential for another cold front or a series of showers to be streaming in from the south through Saturday and Sunday. It doesn't look like it's going to be impacting too many locations, and only a couple of millimetres is expected, but powered by a high pressure system, it looks like we're going to be seeing some showers Saturday and Sunday before another cold front brushes up Monday afternoon and Tuesday morning. And this one here looks like it dumps a little bit more rainfall for locations south of Perth. It doesn't look like this cold front strong enough to be dumping rainfall into the Murchison or the northern parts of the wheat belt. It still will, but it certainly won't be that much. And then behind it, a very strong shower pool gets swept up, and it looks like it's going to be very cold conditions for the middle parts of next week in the wake of this significant cold front. Many temperatures plummeting to close to zero across the parts of the southwest that typically do get slammed by this cold weather in the later parts of cold fronts. And you can see just some more rainfall streaming up in the later parts, or basically throughout next week. So it does look like a little bit of wet weather is certainly on the cards for next week, especially for agricultural communities between a line from Perth to Esperance, which is fantastic news, especially for places outside of Salmon Gums and Lake Grace. They are in some desperate need of rainfall. This is a very good looking rainfall forecast, though. In terms of peak accumulations for the next 10 days, Perth expecting another 40, maybe even 50 millimetres on top of what they're going to be getting tonight and tomorrow. Some locations expecting that up towards 50 millimetres again from the series of cold fronts to be coming through next week. The south coast getting hammered with rainfall up towards 150 millimetres of the stuff, and keep in mind only 30 millimetres of that will be from tonight, so they're expecting a very good helping of rainfall next week. And over the next 10 days, accumulations are much more colourful for basically everywhere apart from Ravensthorpe on this map here. Ravensthorpe being the lowest accumulation in the wheat belt or around the wheat belt with 10 millimetres, and a lot more locations picking up between 20 and 50 millimetres, which is fantastic news for farmers and agricultural districts. And it's being shared. It's not the northern and the Murchison, the northern parts of the wheat belt and the Murchison that are picking up the rainfall. It's a lot of the agricultural communities. So this is a fantastic thing to be seeing on the forecast, and I'm sure many farmers are rubbing their hands at the thought of this. That is absolutely fantastic news, and I'm very excited for all of them out there. Reciprocated amongst the other forecast models as well, GFS saying basically the same thing. They're just saying less rainfall because they are a lower resolution model, and the Axis G3 also saying the same thing as well, except for these two big glitches, which I do believe are glitches. They're also calling for a pretty big front, so the Axis G3 does have some interesting things on the forecast here, but yeah, they've got a few big glitches in terms of rainfall on their forecast. That is interesting to be seeing. However, I don't think that there's going to be much difference from what the Eastern Weather is expecting here. In short, I'm expecting this to be a very certain forecast and something that we can all bet our monies on. I bet you're all fed up with listening about the Western Australian forecast. We're going to jump over south and east again and talk about South Australia, Victoria and Tasmania, at least their wet weather, before we talk about another high pressure system that's going to be bringing some very cold weather. We'll touch on the rainfall accumulations real quick over the next 10 days. Western Tasmania are expecting some very good rainfall, up to 150 millimetres of the stuff on the west coast around Strawn or Queenstown. Also some good rainfall on the southeastern corner of Adelaide around Robe and Mount Gambier, up to 100 millimetres. Kangaroo Island expecting some good rainfall too, and Adelaide up to 50 or 60 millimetres over the next 10 days. What is this coming from? Well, we've got a few cold fronts that are going to be bringing this rainfall. The first one's going to be coming through Friday lunchtime for South Australia, bringing some light showers and light to moderate rainfall through parts of South Australia. It's just going to be driving some rainfall through Victoria, some snowfall for the Victorian Highlands, but again, nothing too heavy in terms of rainfall or snowfall there. Melbourne could be picking up 10 or 15 millimetres on Friday. Tasmania are also expecting some steady rainfall, especially on the northern and the northeastern corner before the cold front comes through early Saturday morning, bringing some icy conditions to a lot of Tasmania and some heavy showers here and there. Snowfall and freezing rain also expected for locations up the New South Wales Great Dividing Range, and maybe the mountains around Katoomba are in for a little bit of snow again, some very wet snow, but that'll only happen for areas above sort of 13 or 1400 metres of elevation. Still though, some freezing rain expected up there, so that is interesting. Rainfall continuing for South Australia, especially its coastal regions and Victoria and Tasmania through Saturday and basically through the entirety of the weekend as well. And these accumulations will add up. As you can see, South Australia, or at least its southeastern pastoral districts, expecting up towards maybe 30 millimetres this coming weekend. The rainfall easing off next week. It's going to continue though for Tasmania. As always, it's stuck in the roaring 40s. They're going to be getting more rainfall than for a while. South Australia expecting another cold front to be moving through, bringing some light to moderate falls next Wednesday and Thursday, and that'll turn into rainfall for Victoria on Thursday, and some rainfall as well for New South Wales and Tasmania as well on Thursday. But again, nothing crazy. New South Wales, like you can see on the rainfall accumulation map here, they're not really expecting any heavy rainfall apart from areas around the mountainous districts. It's going to be Thredbo and Perisher Valley picking up the worst of the accumulations. Victoria, however, its highlands and the majority of the state picking up at least 25 millimetres, apart from its remote desert areas such as Mildura. New South Wales, very good rainfall, as I have just said. South Australia, at least on its coast, some good rainfall too. Eyre Peninsula expecting about 10 millimetres over the next 10 days, and Tasmania as well expecting up to 150 on the west coast and about 50 throughout the remainder of the state. It's just going to be the southeastern corner that doesn't get too much rainfall there. So very good rainfall across the south. I must be saying it's looking like a pretty healthy week in terms of winter rainfall accumulation, stock standard stuff, so absolutely no worries there. And I'd also like to finish this video off by talking about the high pressure ridge that is going to be bringing another bit of a cold snap sometime later this week. Just a heads up for farmers, it looks like there's going to be a couple of frost days, especially Friday morning looking like a pretty strong frost day for New South Wales and into Queensland as well, outside of Emerald and Longreach. Alpha going down to 2 degrees and a couple of locations threatening to go below 2 degrees there, so some frost is certainly possible. The highlands in New South Wales and Victoria significantly below zero on Friday. Saturday as well, expecting cold conditions through there, but New South Wales kind of saved by the cold front that's going to be coming through. It's going to be Tasmania that's going to be really cold. This weekend will be slightly more mild, but then again next week looking a lot colder in the wake of these low pressure systems brushing through this weekend. It looks like Monday and Tuesday could be a very cold morning for parts of New South Wales, down towards 1 or 2 degrees and below zero for mountainous areas. So again, just a heads up, you're going to need to continue rugging up and prepare for some frost days. Western Australia, no stranger to the cold as well. They're going to be seeing some frost days as well later this week and into early next week in the wake of the strong cold front coming through today. But again, nothing out of the ordinary there. This is just a heads up. This is nothing to be worrying about. Just a heads up to rug up and make sure that you are prepared for some frost. That is a long-winded forecast. If I have left anything out, please do let me know in the comment section down below. In terms of tropical weather, there's really not much to be talking about. Major population centres such as Darwin, Townsville, areas around Mackay as well remaining high and dry. A few showers around far north Queensland. In fact, you can see up here up towards 30 millimetres maybe for the next 10 days. But again, really hard to predict this sort of rainfall, especially this time of the year. And it's going to be dry for the next 5 days. We're not going to be talking about any of that anytime soon. But, I mean, we are now moving into the middle parts and the late parts of July, so it's only about 2 months until the rainfall really does pick up for areas along far north Queensland. So yeah, it's going to be a very short while until we start talking about the heavy rainfall once again establishing itself in far north Queensland, and then only a couple of months after that it'll be in the Northern Territory and Western Australia. My oh my, has time flown. It's only going to be a couple of months, maybe another 3 months until we start to see our first cyclone activity as well. So there will be a tropical forecast as well coming out later on this year, later on this winter season, so make sure you are subscribed because you do not want to miss that at all. We're going to be going nuts on tropical coverage this year on the CyclonesOZ channel. If you are brand new to the channel, please do consider subscribing for all the reasons listed above, and also leave a like on the video as well. Give me some feedback in the comment section down below. Let me know a weather report for your location as well. I'd love to hear what weather you're currently experiencing, especially if you live in New South Wales. Tell me exactly what the winter weather blast was like for your location. Yeah, so please let me know in the comment section down below. I do look forward to reading and responding to all of them throughout the course of today. Thank you so much for all the recent support in the videos. Please do consider becoming a channel sponsor. Their names are on screen right now, and I could not be running this show without them. It's a shame that Windy's radar feature pressure was down today. I was very much looking forward to tracking the rain across New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania. Hopefully it is back tomorrow. But yeah, that is all from me today, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.